We're live at Churchill Downs. The horses are on the ground. Two guys just hanging around. The Brad and John Show.
Hi, this is Brad Cummings back again with the Pollock Report's Brad and John Show. We had a great show yesterday. We got a big one today, a little shorter. Later on in the show, we're going to have an exclusive interview with Donnie Van Hamel, the trainer of Caleb's Posse. But before we get started, I want to introduce to you the man with the most, my good friend. Here's Johnny Scheinman. Hey, John. How you doing?
Great, I'm great. It's great to be back with the show. I thought yesterday's show was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to a new one today, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely, me too. So let's get right into it. The big controversy yesterday was about the turf course that it got closed down. A lot of the European trainers are upset. Richard Hannon among them couldn't get their training done the way they wanted it to because they shut down the turf course. What are you hearing about that?
Well, just to refresh a little bit what happened yesterday, we had a deluge out here yesterday morning at Churchill Downs. There's supposed to be a time at 10 a.m. where the turf horses for the Breeders' Cup were going to be allowed to gallop or work or whatever they wanted to do. Right. All the Europeans are clustered out there, and Churchill Downs cancels the works in the morning. Some of the Europeans literally tried to raise one of the sections of the fence so they could just get on there anyway, and they were confronted by Churchill Downs and personnel saying, "Wait a minute, what the heck are you guys doing? You're not allowed on there." Well, it mushroomed from there. Sir Michael Stout, and anybody who's got the name Sir in front of their first and last name is obviously an important person. Sir Michael Stout's one of the great trainers in the world. He was very angry. Richard Hannon, the trainer of Strong Suit who's running in the mile, went on his website and said, "We're never coming back to America. This is ruining all our chances to win because it's killing the program," on and on. It was a big thing. Richard Hannon has since retracted that today. But the bottom line is that Churchill Downs, to me, did not prepare properly for this kind of situation. They should have known rain is a possibility, and here's what we're going to do because the Euros don't care whether it's raining or not. They want their horses to get on the turf course. So they should have set an outside lanes in the turf course that they could have galloped on. But they didn't do that, and they canceled the turf racing. Well, truthfully, compounding the issue was they wound up running the Commonwealth on the turf later in the afternoon. So they've already upset the European trainers, and now they've added insult to injury by running a turf race. So if you're going to preserve the turf course for the Breeders' Cup turf races, you probably shouldn't have run that turf race. So I think this is probably going to turn out to be much ado about nothing in the end, but in the future, Breeders' Cup management should say, well, we've got a plan in place. We're going to give these European trainers strict orders to use the outside part of the turf course if they want to gallop during the rain.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. So now we're going into a year, we're adding another Breeders' Cup race, the juvenile sprint. There's some people who say more races the better.
Nice segue, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, always. We're going. Some people say 14 races, 15 races, 20 races. Great. Let's get as many people involved in the championships at the end of the year. Then there are some folks who say too much racing, diluting the product. John, the entire world wants to know, what do you think?
There's too many races in the Breeders' Cup, and some of them don't even deserve the title of Breeders' Cup. Don't get me wrong. I have never met a race that I would not wager on. I mean, I've bet races down at from La Plata versus on the Latin American Racing Network, where there's been dogs and chickens running across the track during the race. I'm out the window. I'm betting that stuff. So don't get me wrong. I like to wager, and I like more races. But we have a problem when we're calling something the Thoroughbred World Championships, and then we run a bunch of races where horses that couldn't get a sniff of something called World Championship are allowed to compete in. Everybody knows the marathon is for horses that can't compete in the Classic. The mile is a bastard race because those horses could have been in the sprint, or they could have gone out on a limb and gone for the Classic. And
you're talking about the dirt mile, right?
The dirt mile, excuse me. This is a test of trainers. Can I take my miler to the Classic, or do I cut him back for now there's no test. And here's a perfect example. Todd Pletcher has this filly, Stop Shopping Maria. Okay, ran a sensational, I think, 101 Beyer speed figure 2 races back. Has had a 3-race career. They've called an audible, and they're running in the Philly turf race. Yeah. And it's like, why should you be allowed to shop for spots in the Breeders' Cup? There's so many horses that are cross-entered. It's just ridiculous. You shouldn't be able to shop for the best spot in a championship. Also, one other issue, Brad, about this. The foal crop is going down, and it's going to continue to decline for the next few years. So Breeders' Cup is adding championship races while the foal crop is declining. So it's just going to compound the problem of less quality horses running in these races. The great horses will be here, but there's going to be a lot of bad horses that don't deserve to be in an event called championship.
Well, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I like the fact that we now have a juvenile sprint. I like the fact that we're encouraging these divisions that maybe wouldn't have a reason for people to enter their horses in if there wasn't some championship at the end of the year, some sort of a pot at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. And you know, for instance, the Factor last year wouldn't it have been fascinating to see a horse like that in a juvenile sprint? So, you know, to see to encourage them to find their position earlier in their careers if they're ready.
But wouldn't it be great to see horses like Caleb's Posse and the Factor running in the Breeders' Cup Sprint and have just like a giant? The Breeders' Cup Sprint is not that strong this year. You've got you know, Giant Ryan, he's okay. You know, they got these horses that are kind of like they're okay. They're okay. But if you had the Factor and Caleb's Posse in there, and now Jackson Ben, and all of a sudden all the Titans would be coming together. But now they're kind of split up. I never thought they should have done the Filly and Mare Sprint at all because it was so exciting when you had Safely Kept and Mia Farah and Desert Stormer and all these sensationally fast fillies going against the boys. And we talked about boys versus girls yesterday is a great selling point for the sport. Now we've sectioned them off. Who wouldn't want to see Turbulent Descent take on the boys this year? I mean, I would. And I think you're hurting granted, you're adding more wagering events for people to bet on, and you're allowing more participants in the sport to play. But the bottom line is you want to be a championship, have a championship, and make it so thrilling and so compelling by having all the greats have to face each other and sometimes go outside of their comfort zone to win the mantle of greatness.
Do you want me to set up a date between you and Turbulent Descent? You seem to have something there.
That's not what I was doing under the table early on. I was not looking for any Turbulent Descent.
All right. Anyways, well, we're gonna have to agree to just. We're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. And while we're arguing off camera, we're going to go ahead and kick it to our interview with Donnie Van Hamel, trainer of Caleb's Posse, who is entered into the Dirt Mile.
We're here on the backstretch at Barn 18 with Donnie Van Hamel, who has Caleb's Posse in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile tomorrow. How's the horse doing? I guess that's the first question you have to ask.
Well, he's doing great. We've been very pleased with him since he got here last week. He's eating well, training well, and quite frankly, we can't wait to get to tomorrow.
Have you done a lot of interviews this week?
Oh, just occasional. I don't know what's a lot, but one a day or so, something like that, probably.
I mean, when you think about it, your horse is the horse that knocked off the horse that will probably be the favorite in the biggest race, the Breeders' Cup Classic, and you're getting maybe one interview a day. How many interviews a day do you think Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli are getting?
Oh, probably a few more, but in the end, it's how you perform on the racetrack and who they cut the check to.
I first met you this summer at Saratoga when I was working for NYRA. You won the Amsterdam Grade 2 with Caleb's Posse. You were indescribably happy in the winner's circle that day. Then you came back and you won the King's Bishop and you beat Uncle Mo. You hadn't raced at Saratoga, I don't think, since 1989. What brought you up there? And I guess we should have all taken you very seriously just showing up.
Well, actually, we had 2 3-year-olds that brought us up there, Alternation and Caleb's Posse, and we were looking for opportunities for both horses, and we brought a couple more along with them so that I could make it work financially with the people I had to bring. And Alternation was a little disappointing there, but Caleb's Posse more than made up for it. He really had run 2 great races there and put in our minds that he could be a horse that could run well on Breeders' Cup Day.
Your all-time leading trainer at Remington Park, regular at Oaklawn, Arlington, but was it extra special for you to win up there at Saratoga?
Oh, I think so. You look at the history of Saratoga and everything like that, and to run where all the greats have run and all the names of the trainers and It's just a great place. I think is one of the quotes where you turn on Union Avenue and go back 100 years. I think that's so apropos.
We talked earlier, probably up in New York, and you said you recognized that Caleb's Posse was a sprinter, but you continue to run him in longer races, like in the Ohio Derby, where you just mowed them down in the lane. And I think you called it you were picking off the low-hanging fruit. You beat Uncle Mo. You've got to obviously be thinking Breeders' Cup. How do you make the determination at that point which race you're going to do? Probably not the Classic, but between the mile and the sprint.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when we decided on the Indiana Derby. It was less travel. It was straight 3-year-olds, and the dirt mile was the race we were leaning toward at that time. So we thought that was timing-wise and everything considered, it was the best race for us to get to the Breeders' Cup dirt mile at our best.
What year did you start training?
1983.
So 83. Now I did some research. You've run 2 horses in the Breeders' Cup. You've run 4. Yeah, well, then I've got an out. Well, we got to go to the statistics guide because something is wrong in your bio on the website. That's wrong. You've run 4. Yes. Now the 2 that I saw, you finished 8th and 9th. What were the other ones?
Well, there was Clever Trevor in the sprint, Mariah Storm in the distaff.
Good horse.
Evansville Slew in the juvenile, and Bien Nicole in the filly mare turf.
And what was the top finish?
Not very good.
What do you think the top? But you're obviously pretty selective on when you strike at, outside of the tracks that you normally run at. I mean, if you show up, obviously I saw it this summer. It's serious business. So, how do you make a determination that you're coming to the Breeders' Cup with Caleb's Posse?
Well, I think I want to know that my horse is going to come and have a shot to win. We don't need to practice, so we're coming to win.
Is this campaign maybe too long in this horse, or are we still out of fresh horse?
He is in the feed tub so well, so happy when he trains that I think that we're in good shape.
Well, I got up late this morning. I'm ready to get into the feed tub myself. Well, anyway, thanks for talking with us, Don, and best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
What? Mom? What? Oh, sorry. Sorry. Breeders' Cup advice a couple days ago. I'm still a little jet lagged. Anyways. All right, so we're going to get into our Breeders' Cup Classic picks. Of course, tomorrow we'll have Molly Jo Rosen and Bruno DiGiulio to break down some more of the
to actually tell us who is going to win.
Right.
Than, like these uneducated stabs that we're about to give you.
Yeah, we'll actually have real handicappers tomorrow. But today we're going to look at the Breeders' Cup Classic. John, who do you like?
The Breeders' Cup Classic is actually a really good race that has not been diluted.
Oh, well, thank God.
Well, I'm very excited about that, and I'm very excited that Harvey de Grace, in a very sporting gesture by Rick Porter, owner Rick Porter, is going into the race because they've said all along that Harvey de Grace is not a 1.25 mile horse; it's just a 1.8 mile horse, and that's outside of her limits. So they're going to try to stretch her limits. That's going for a championship. Yeah. However, I'm going to go for the proven 1.25 mile horse in this race. Older horse, Flat Out, Scooter Dickey. Yeah. What a sensational performance in the Jockey Club Gold Cup to just thump Drosselmeyer, we don't like Drosselmeyer, but also Stay Thirsty, who was going to take a heck of a lot of action in this field. I think Flat Out has probably maintained his form very well. He has looked sensational at Churchill Downs in his training up to this Breeders' Cup Classic, and I think he's going to sit a good trip, and he's going to just power on by. The X factor here, of course, is Uncle Mo, who is indeed the super horse that Mike Rapoli makes him out to be, is going to win in a runaway because he's just simply faster than all these other horses. But we have an extra quarter mile to go with Uncle Mo. I'm going to take a bit of a safer position. I hope to get 5-1 on this horse. I'm going Flat Out.
All right. Well, I love the West Coast horses, right? I have a sweet spot for them. And I just think Game On Dude is the horse that's kind of flying under the radar. I don't like John Shyman. Chantel Sutherland is going to silence her critics. He's been running very well over the last couple races. Game On Dude is my choice to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. However, if you're looking for a price, Ruler on Ice, the 31 morning line.
It's tremendous.
Running a consistent buyer figure, really. He's consistently in the hundreds. Has not dropped. Actually, his last race was faster than the Belmont Stakes in which he won. And I think if you look at it, you're seeing a horse that has the potential to peak right at the right time. Breeders' Cup Classic. If you're looking for a price, Ruler on Ice is your guy.
And I hate to agree with you always, but that is an excellent long shot choice and the best long shot choice in this race. His last performance, even though he didn't win, was an excellent performance, and he stays on. He doesn't quit. He fights back. He dropped back a little on the rail in that race, and then he came back. I think it was the Pennsylvania Derby, and he came back, and he came back. So he dropped back, and then he came back. That to me screams of prep for a larger objective, which is obviously the Breeders' Cup Classic. Any spread tickets in Pick 4, I'm having that horse on there.
Yeah, and 2 horses that are in the Classic field were in that Pennsylvania Derby field, and Tonner and Serve and Rattlesnake Bridge. 2 horses I don't necessarily think are going to do a great, do something spectacular tomorrow, but it does show that he wasn't running against any kind of an inferior field in the Pennsylvania Derby. Well, I think that's all we got for today. We do want you to come in the comment section below and give us your pick. Free Breeders' Cup or Bust T-shirt for the winner, the first winner in the comment section. I'm Brad Cummings.
Well, you got to explain that clearly.
Well, go ahead, John.
You picked the winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic.
I feel like that's what I just said.
Did you? Okay, then he did it. If you guys can figure it out, you get the T-shirt. I am going to throw in a Saratoga travel bag that is unopened. It's still in the wrapper to the winner of this. So you're gonna get the Breeders' Cup or Bust T-shirt, and you're gonna get the Saratoga travel bag.
Put your pick below in the comment section. Breeders' Cup Classic winner, first one with the winning horse wins the prize package. I'm Brad Cummings. This is John Shyman. It's the Brad and John Show. Thank you very much. Peace.